Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayh wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu wa nashhadu an la ilaha illallahu wahdahu la sharika lahu ونشهد أن سيدنا وسندنا وشفيعنا محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وذكر فإن ذكرى تنفع المؤمنين صدق الله العظيم اللهم صل وسلم وبارك وارحم على عبدك ورسولك سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وسلم تسليما. Something that is entirely unseen has taken over control of the minds and hearts of all of humanity. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the being who is unseen. As Allah ta'ala has said in Quran and early on in Surah Baqarah, الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ, that they believe in the unseen. And this coronavirus has given us an example of how something that is unseen can totally and entirely transform and dominate our lives and beings and existence. And if this is true about an ordinary microorganism or virus or microbe or whatever it is, then imagine how much this should be true about the unseen Jahannam, unseen Jannah, unseen Kursi, unseen Arsh, unseen Malaika angels, unseen Akhirah, unseen Yawm al-Qiyamah, unseen Barzakh, Alim Barzakh in the Qabr, and obviously then about the unseen Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. So we as a people of Iman, we believe intensely in the unseen. Our entire deen is based on the unseen. Now, interestingly, and some of us may know, that some of the early ulama of kalam, early mutakallimun, when they encountered this Greek philosophy, right? And so there was this whole discussion that took place. The philosophers, Greek philosophers, and unfortunately some Muslims chose to follow them mistakenly, they held that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's relationship to the world is that Allah ta'ala has created the world and created nature. You want to call it the laws of nature, laws of physics. You want to be fancy, call it laws of metaphysics, whatever you want to call it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created these processes, these asbab, and then He leaves them on their own, right? So let's say, for example, there's some organism that is created through mutation. They're saying, na'udhu billah, was that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was not actively involved in that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not get involved in these details. Allah ta'ala just created the system of the universe, and He let that system now be, and that system now continues due to its cause and effect and processes. Alhamdulillah, the ulama of kalam, and it may not be so important today to understand exactly what happened historically, but it's important for us to understand this lesson. They replied, they said no. They said no to all this Greek philosophy. They said no to those Muslim philosophers who got convinced by it. They said no, this is wrong. Yes, it is true that Allah Ta'ala has created the universe and the world and science and nature and metaphysics, whatever you want to call it. But it doesn't mean that Allah Ta'ala lets it be afterwards. No. Allah Ta'ala knows everything. He directs everything. He controls everything. He commands everything. You want to call that everything a quark, an atom, a subatomic particle. You want to use any single word in science, metaphysics. You want to say anything. You want to use the most fancy jargon, the most simple term, whatever it is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps it absolutely in His control. Huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. So nothing is happening in this world just because of science or medicine. And that's why nothing in this world can be 100% perfectly understood only through science. Now, obviously, alhamdulillah, I'm not, and any of you know me, I'm not anti-science, right? But the point is, science has a limit. Yes, there are things that science can tell us about illness that we can't tell you, right? The knowledge of Deen, the Quran, and these aren't going to tell you specific details about that illness. But Deen tells you the most important thing about that illness is that it's a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It remains always under the command and control of Allah ta'ala. It cannot infect someone symptomatically, asymptomatically, all the scientific language. None of that can happen. Not even a fraction of it can happen. Everything will only happen in the knowledge and power and control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This was the great thing of the ulama of Kalam. You don't have to know their names, Ashari, Maturidi, schools, thought. You just need to understand this lesson, which was the lesson of Iman, the lesson of Yaqeen. That actually, maybe people who don't understand, they look at Ilm Kalam and say, oh, it's also philosophy, it's also logic. No, it's about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was about preserving the concept of the might and power and knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which unfortunately some Muslims became shaky in due to philosophy. Now the same thing can be happening in this world today due to science. Science is wonderful, science is amazing, science should be learned, science should be taught, but nothing about science, and definitely not the fact that science is amazing, should not ever make a person slightly, even slightly, dilute their concept of the might and power and grandeur and majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No, that's different. In fact, if we had true hikmah, true firasa, true wisdom, true insight, the real effect of seeing any and every amazing, wondrous thing in science would be only and first and foremost and primarily to understand and know and realize that Allah Ta'ala is amazing and wondrous. Everything would lead to Subhanallah. Everything would lead to Alhamdulillah. Subhanallah and Alhamdulillah would come from the heart, would come from the mind, if a person truly understands science. So everything and anything that is happening in this world, whether unseen, seen, empirical, non-empirical, whatever you want to call it, all of it is in the might and power and control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you and me, خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. Allah Ta'ala has made each and every one of us extremely weak. And our role on earth, and sometimes I think, yes, we should work hard, we should strive, but we should realize our role on earth is not actually to have the highest level of scientific achievement or the highest level of intellectual achievement. Our role on earth is not even to create the greatest human society. Our role on earth is to acknowledge and accept our weakness and somehow, while being weak, simply become the obedient slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's it. That's what a human being is. Only Deen can make us understand that. Every other branch of knowledge, other than religious knowledge, every other branch of knowledge can be wonderful, excellent, learn it, study it. But every other branch of knowledge has one flaw. It makes you think, it gives you this delusion that you are going to be some knowledgeable, intellectual, enlightened, capable, dynamic person. It's the knowledge of Deen is ghalib. The knowledge of Deen teaches a person that you are going to be the humble, abject, obedient slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the height of humanity. There is no height of humanity. There is no attainment and achievement of humanity beyond simply being the obedient slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in that, the farmer and the Nobel Prize winner are going to be equally judged on the Day of Judgment. They're not going to be judged on their knowledge and philosophy and science. No. They're going to be judged unto what extent they were the obedient slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So yes, sometimes we have to use our knowledge, do analysis, do thinking, but the mu'min in their mind and heart always has the deen first and foremost. And they must always be on guard. And we must always protect ourselves against any delusion, any self-delusion. You know, the biggest problem with self-delusion is you brought yourself into it and you're the only one who can then take you out of it. But how are you going to take yourself out of it because you're deluded? And alhamdulillah, mashallah, I've been amazed that a lot of ordinary people, even many non-Muslims, have come to realize this lesson, this ultimate lesson of deen through this issue, this illness. That this is how they realize we're just normal people, we're normal. I mean, some of them, if Allah Ta'ala give everyone iman, they don't have iman. Some of them, so they don't believe in Allah Ta'ala, they won't say the word God, but they will just say, oh, we're ordinary creatures. This has made us liras or Allahu Akbar Kabira. I wish somebody could go to tell them that you have made the ultimate realization. If you're saying that the news of this illness and this illness and virus has made you realize that you're just an ordinary being, you have hit upon a major teaching of deen. This is why Allah Ta'ala sent wahi, why Allah Ta'ala sent scriptures, why Allah Ta'ala sent anbiya alayhim as-salam ajmain, to make us realize this. That you're already, on your way to becoming a mu'min. They should be told this. Muslims should be telling everybody this, that this is something that we had also forgotten, and we're sorry that we couldn't lead you into this realization. But now that you have realized this, that you should enter the deen of Islam. Because then the deen of Islam makes you understand, number one, that you are an ordinary being, and number two, once you realize that, then it makes you realize who is not an ordinary being. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that extraordinary, amazing, fantastic, mighty, majestic being. And then number three, it tells you how to become the lover and beloved. And then in number four, it tells you that if you succeed and become the lover and beloved of that extraordinary being, you yourself won't be that ordinary. Later, you will become something called Jannati, which is an extraordinary state of existence. But you've taken the first step, that you realize in this dunya, I'm just an ordinary being. Allahu Akbar. But there's so much hidayah. But people just, they can't, they're not able to be guided. It's just like us. Most of us in the ummah, the way we are about, there's so much hidayah in Quran, but we're not able to be guided by it. There's so much hidayah in the seerah, we're not able to be guided by it. There's so much hidayah in the sunnah, we're not able to be guided by it. And there's so much hidayah in these things and events and happenings of the world. Why? Because all of them happen because of the might and power and control and command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is something now, now a few weeks have passed. So now we have to, as an ummah, as individuals, now we have to move beyond, the immediate, we can continue doing that, but the immediate, how to respond, how to understand, what to do, how to pray, how to make ghusl. And, we need to refine and deepen those understandings and share and spread those understandings. But now we should also be looking at what hidayat, what guidance, what lessons can be learned from this. What in our deen can help us gain lessons from this, and what lessons from this can help us understand our deen. Because every single thing in the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything in the creation of Allah ta'ala, every attribute in that thing, every action of that thing, every phenomenon, or whatever you want to call it, all of it will lead to the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the marifat of Allah ta'ala. Allah ta'ala can be known and understood and appreciated and praised and glorified more through every single thing in the samawat and ard, because every single thing itself in the samawat and ard is always doing the tasbih and hamd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Did you ever think about that? That the coronavirus microorganism itself is doing the tasbih and hamd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's itself the creature and slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahu Akbar. So all we have to do And really, sometimes it's not about specific. We need those specific guidance and guidelines. Alhamdulillah, may Allah reward all the ulama who are sharing that. And we need, we need people at the level of asbab. And may Allah reward every single healthcare professional and any other type of caregiver. And all of those who don't have iman, may Allah grant them hidayah to have iman because of the goodness that they're doing. And sometimes we just need to step back and look at the big picture. That all of this, I can talk about it and analyze it and look at details and specifics, but the real lesson I need to take from this is to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to increase my yaqeen in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think that's happened with a lot of us. Just our yaqeen, and we're so grateful for that. That the yaqeen in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we see the mastery and majesty and the might and power behind these events that take place in our lives, in the world, and in reality. And at the same time, the second major thing is we should make a lot of dua for the poor, a lot of dua from those places where people are in much more difficult circumstances than us. And it's worthy of repeating all the time to ourselves and to one another. We must make a lot of dua for the poor, for the oppressed, for those who cannot afford to socially distance and socially isolate and go into quarantine, for those whom the lockdown doesn't mean, let's spend time and play board games with their children. For them, the lockdown means, what am I going to do? Every day I used to earn and bring few hundred rupees, if you want pennies back home, and that's how we used to eat. What am I going to do today? Allahu Akbar Kabira. People like me and you, this is like a luxury, right? We're living luxury lives. It's a luxury to be able to sit at home for weeks. And to be able to still have money and to still have food in your fridge, and it's a luxury. We're luxury people. And we should be thinking about all those people who don't have that luxury. And so for them, there's a second worry. It's not just this fear, this 1% chance I may get this illness, and then after that, there's a 10% chance I may die. No, for them, it's 100% issue for me every day that I'm not able to earn, I'm not able to provide for my family, I cannot provide for myself. 100% every day. Allahu Akbar. So we should make a lot of dua for people, a lot of dua for people. And really this is the time, and there's certain particular duas that in our deen we do make for people who have yet to accept iman. And the first and foremost one is that may Allah Ta'ala grant them hidayah for iman. But now you can add to it. Allah Ta'ala grant them iman because of the good they're doing and the good they're spreading, the fikr they have for insan. They're putting their lives on the line. Many of them, they're putting their health on the line. Or their spouses, they're allowing their spouse to put their life on the line. Because if there's whenever you find a human being who is good, you should wish good for them. And the greatest good that we could wish for them was for iman. So it's very important that we share and spread the teachings of iman, the teachings of sabr. Even the du'as of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you have any friends who they may be Christians or Jews or they believe in God, the Abrahamic God, right? So you should share with them some of these teachings of Quran, teachings of Hadith, so that they should feel some munasaba. Who knows, maybe that may be a means of them coming closer to accepting iman. And as individuals ourselves, whom Allah Ta'ala has already blessed iman, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already blessed iman, we should make so much shukr that in moments like this, in any moment of test, in any moment of crisis, we are able to be guided by iman. Imagine if we didn't have these teachings. Imagine if you didn't have these du'as. Imagine if there was no concept of tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine if you didn't know that Allah ta'ala grants shifa. We're so used to those things. Alhamdulillah, we're so used to now these teachings of deen. It's almost like hard for us. I'm just talking to you out loud. Even while I'm talking, it's hard to imagine what my mental state would be Actually, I'm amazed that people aren't in, people who don't have iman. Again, may Allah Ta'ala gives them tawfiq and gives them hidayah. But if a person who doesn't, how in the world are they even able to cope with these things? So we should make a lot of shukr for our iman, and we should adopt more of the a'mal of iman. So shukr of iman doesn't just mean, it does mean, but it doesn't just mean that in our hearts we're grateful for iman. Like for somebody says, oh, I'm so grateful Allah Ta'ala sent the Quran. We say, okay, alhamdulillah, it's good you're grateful, but then if you were really grateful, you would recite it, you would read it, you would understand it, you would practice it, you would share it, you would spread it if you were really grateful. So just like that, if we're truly grateful for our iman, we should increase in the a'mal of our iman. And this is a very big thing. We have to make sure this happens. And not just any particular amal, all amal should be increased at this time. All of them. And you don't need me to repeat, we all know what they are. Whether it's extra prayers, extra fasts, whether it's recitation of Quran Kareem, whether it's dua, we must increase all of our a'mal in this moment of difficulty, in this time of difficulty, in this era of difficulty. And last time, and inshallah we will share that talk as well on Thursday in England. In our English talk, we shared 3-4 du'as, very short du'as of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam that people should recite and use that recitation as a portal, as an entry, as a way to increase their ibadah. And I shared the other night in the Urdu talk that something that somebody shared with me, that a great muhaddith who passed away recently, Shaykh Mawlana Muhammad Yunus Jaunpuri Rahimahullah Ta'ala, he used to say that you should make dua more for the ummah than you make for yourself, and make dua for the ummah first and then for yourself. And sometimes we have to force ourselves to do this, and we have to make ourselves in the habit and in the practice of doing this. And when you make dua for the ummah, you'll also feel, it's not just sawab and ajr, you'll also feel a part of that ummah. And then also you will psychologically, emotionally feel some relief if you're feeling an anxiety, because you realize you're not in this alone. And that was the lesson of Surah Al-Fatiha. That's why we say, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Allah Ta'ala, we worship you. I'm not alone. I'm not a one-man person in this deen. There's a whole ummah. I'm connecting myself. When I accept iman, I've connected myself to all the people who ever walked on Sirat al-Mustaqim. All of the Anbiya al-Mursaleen, all of the Nabeen. I'm now part of a bigger we. I'm part of a we that includes Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, all of the Anbiya al-Mursaleen. I'm part of a we that includes all the Siddiqeen, the Hawariyun who were the Sahaba of Nabi Isa alayhi salam, all the true companions of all the true prophets, all the true followers of all the true original and pristine religion. I'm part of that bigger we of all of the mu'mineen and mu'minat. And that sense of being part of something greater, that is one of the very, very important teachings in our deen. So we should make a lot of dua for the ummah that is alive and present, in particular for when we're making dua, particularly for hifazah from this illness, and more importantly, even in some ways, to learn the hidayat and lessons to be derived from this illness. Because there are going to be many people in the ummah whom Allah Ta'ala does protect from the illness, but still they don't get any of the hidayat and they won't take the guidance and lessons. There'll be a second type of people who Allah Ta'ala protects from the illness, and they take hidayat, guidance from it, only during this period. But then later, whenever that happens, Allahu Alam, if it will happen, inshallah it will happen, whenever it happens, that the world becomes, quote unquote, let's say normal, they will forget. Because that happens to me and you. We take hidayat from Ramadan as we forget. We take Hidayah from Umrah or Hajj, it ends, we forget. It happened to us in individual crises in our life. There was a difficulty, a test, a trial, tribulation. We took lessons from it. The test ended, we forgot. So if it happens so many times at so many levels for so many tests and trials, there's a danger it might happen for this one also. So that's why very important that we should be heedful and mindful of all the lessons to be learned. And maybe some of us should write our own thoughts and feelings down, our own personal journal. We should, share reminders with our friends and family. And we should try to learn from others. We should ask others that what lessons have you learned from this? What verse of Quran helped you through this? Which name of Allah Ta'ala did you call upon? Beyond this illness, what else were you thinking about? We should share with one another. And this is a very important thing, especially for those people who are in some type of quarantine, lockdown situation, that, you should keep in touch with your family, even if you're not able to visit them in person, and you should share nasiha with them and share good du'as and good words and good ideas with them and ask them to share with you. This is very important, what I really wanted to say. Sometimes we have to draw people out. Don't assume that because you may be strong in your, lockdown, quarantine, self-isolation phase, maybe because you were an introvert to begin with, right? Like for me, the city I'm living in, because we don't normally like it when it has so much rush. So, we're very sad about what's happened, but it's very peaceful out there, right? So it suits us in that sense. But there are other people who maybe it's difficult for them. That's why in the last talk, and inshallah, like I said, people share that with you, we shared the dua that Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam offered for loneliness. And you may not know that. You can't wait, it's too late to say, oh, you never told me. 99% of people, when they're going through something difficult emotionally, or some difficulty spiritually, or personally, or psychologically, whatever you want to call it, right? 99% of people, 99% of the time, are going to reach out to you. So this is not enough of adab. This is not enough akhlaq. This is not enough love and compassion for your fellow person. That no, I was always there for them. What does it mean? That if they ever turned to me, if they ever asked me, I would have been there. I would have been the first to have helped them. And then later, when you find out, you say, "Oh, but you never asked me." So their reply be, "But you never asked me," right? So anyone and everyone who was in your, if you want, there is a saying in Arabic, halakatul ahbab. In Urdu, halakatul ahbab, right? In English, your circle of companionship and your circle of those whom you're dear to and endeared of and fond of. Don't assume that everyone is managing the situation okay. And it's not enough, mashallah, many ulama are giving many talks, and all of the ulama are trying, and teachers and du'at and people of dawah. But none of us, can take the place of that family connection you may have with family members, or that personal connection you may have with your interpersonal network and your friends. And so you need to reach out. Don't wait for somebody to call out to you. Just think of that, metaphor example of somebody in the ocean. You should throw out the rope to them first and call to them to grab the rope. You shouldn't wait there passively and wait for them to scream out to you to ask you to throw out the rope to them. So this is another important thing I want to say on a micro level. Because, it's not, I don't always want to talk about, the big lessons and the big picture. I think naturally I tend to do that a lot. But I want to talk about the micro. Each and every one of us as individual should think about anyone in our own life, in our circle, you want to call it in your contacts list. And see who could you reach out to. Send them one line. Send them more than one line maybe. Right? And I think this is very important. And to reach out, yes, on an emotional level, psychological level, and that's fine on a personal level, private level, family level, but then take it the next step at a dawah level, nasiha level. So don't just write, "Oh dear, I hope you're, dear cousin or whoever it is, I hope you're doing fine." Say something more. say, oh, this hadith really helped me these days, or I'm sending you this short clip, or recitation of Quran. I just want to remind you, add some element of dawah to that personal message, right? So you're doing both things. First, you're showing them that yes, you personally care and that you are there, even though you may be in isolation and therefore you cannot meet them like you used to. And second, that you can share. So you have to, if you will, I don't want to use these sort of buzzwords, but if I wanted to keep it simple, care and share. So the message should have a care element in it. That's your personal. You would know how to do that better. And it should have a share element in it. There should be some aspect of deen that is being shared. All right? And inshallah, as you know, there's a beautiful hadith of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the believer who helps, and I would even say it really means even tries to help. You don't have to be successful necessarily. Tries to help, assist another believer in some need of theirs, Allah Ta'ala then Himself will assist that believer in their own needs, right? Now, when I try to assist someone in their need, well, I may not be successful in that, or I may only be able to partially assist them. But when Allah Ta'ala then as a reward assists me, well, Allah Ta'ala's assistance is kamil, mukammal, is perfect and complete, and is amazing and is wonderful, right? And so it's very important that we reach out and we be there for one another, and that we, if you want to just then use this, term, that we care and we share, right? And inshallah, we will find that this also will be a way of increasing our yaqeen. And many people of dawah, we just make dawah for the sake of our own yaqeen. Just because we know that if we don't keep talking about deen and we don't make our ears listen to what our own tongue says, then we will also be in danger of this slippery slope, right? And so the more, and this is why Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam said, ad-deenun nasiha. All of deen lies in all sincere and sound counsel and advice of deen. Counsel and advice. And all of nasiha is simply to be taken from deen. So all deen equals all nasiha equals all deen. Ad-deenu an-nasiha, ad-deenu nasiha. So mashallah, like some of our friends who are launching this effort on nasiha, we have to make sure that we make a lot of nasiha and advice and counsel one another. And so this is my own amal of trying to do that and trying to reach out to all of you a few times a week. Inshallah, we will have it on Thursday in English and Friday in Urdu and Saturday in English, inshallah. And we'll try to post these, and we're trying to organize things a bit better so that you don't get so many of these messages on the WhatsApp and all that. And we ask all of you to remember everyone in your du'as, and remember us and our family in your du'as as well. May Allah Ta'ala enable us to become strong in deen and to become people of yaqeen and to embark even deeper and firmer on Sirat al-Mustaqim. And may Allah Ta'ala give all of the ulama more barakah in their time, and may He put more tasir and noble effect in their words, and may He enable us to be guided by all of the true guides of deen on a path of kamil taqwa, on mukammal kamil taqwa, on the path of true and absolute and pure piety, and also the path of wisdom and hikmah, and the path of wisdom in which that in every current, live, real situation, we can find something deep in that connects us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we make dua for the entire ummah, especially for the poor, the weak, the needy, the distressed, the oppressed, the lonely, the isolated, the imprisoned, the confined, the refugee, the homeless of this ummah. May Allah Ta'ala send His khas rahmah on them, His khas fadl on them, and may Allah Ta'ala enable us to do shukr of all of the bounties and blessings He has given us. Wa akhiru da'wana an alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.